Hello everyone, today is 11th of September, now it's about 10 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. I hope I will manage to make second update also later on today from 7 to 10 o'clock in the evening. Although right now, there is quite a number of important developments and news that Russian media has already reported, and let me share that news. And I will skip battle map in order to make this update a little shorter. Although let me notice that Russian armed forces were improving positions in South Donetsk sector of the front line, where Uglidar city, as you can see, is basically, one may say, partially encircled as a result of significant progress of the Russian troops in this area. Russian troops continue improving their positions in Pokrovsk sector of the front line, also in Toretsk area, Chisov direction, Seversk, Kupiansk, all along the front line basically, and Russian troops, of course, continuing clearing operation in Kursk salient area, which is temporarily occupied by Kiev regimes and NATO forces. And when I say NATO forces, I mean NATO mercenaries, because the NATO troops are disguised as mercenaries. So we have a Vzglyad News paper's report about Kursk region here. This is yesterday's update of the Russian Defense Ministry on the progress of this clearing operation, anti-terrorist operation in the Kursk region. And according to this report, just in previous 24 hours, Kiev regime lost about 380 military personnel and 15 units of the different type of armored vehicles in Kursk salient area, and significant number of Russian settlements in the Kursk region have been were liberated by Russian forces. Many members of our community probably noticed that in latest updates of Russian Defense Ministry on progress of this counter-terrorist operation in the Kursk region, number of destroyed armored vehicles of the Kiev regime is less and less, which is quite understandable. After all, more than 1,000 pieces of different military equipment of the Kiev regime was destroyed in the Kursk salient area since the beginning of this invasion, and the Kiev regime lost about 12,000 military personnel in that direction. Overall, by the way, at least 3 to 4, possibly more brigades of the Kiev regime from strategical reserves have been demilitarized in that area. And even Ukrainian bloggers, journalists, politicians are questioning openly now all this nonsensical invasion of the Kursk region by the Kiev regime, because it is becoming obvious. It is becoming obvious that Russian side used basically this opening to demilitarize, to destroy basically strategical reserves of the Kiev regime that were concentrated in one area as a result of this invasion, while before these brigades were scattered on different regions of Ukraine. Anyways, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting, and many, by the way, many are now blaming Kiev regime for setbacks in Pokrovsk and South Donetsk sectors of the front line, and are saying that Russian armed forces achieving significant progress on southern and the central sectors of the front, because Kiev regime has no reserves, no more, of battle-capable brigades to direct in Pokrovsk or South Donetsk sectors. Anyways, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that according to pro-Russian underground or partisans that are becoming more and more prominent, by the way, on Kiev-controlled territory and gaining more and more influence and effectiveness. So according to pro-Russian partisans, coordinator of the pro-Russian partisans in Nikolaev region, Sergei Lebedev, pro-Russian partisans struck one of their armored column of the Kiev regime that was moving from Vinnytsia to Cherkasy region, and in Umani area, where this column stopped, made a stop, long-range strike was called in by pro-Russian partisans. Coordinates were given to Russian militaries, and as a result of a long-range missile strike, this column was obliterated, and Kiev regime suffered significant losses in the manpower and the military equipment. And when it comes to effectiveness of the pro-Russian partisans, we have this information also. According to RIA Novosti, Russian armed forces conducted a strike on warehouses in the Kyiv region where Zelensky and his criminal associates were hiding newly delivered their weapon systems from the NATO. And of course, this information was coordinates probably was provided to the Russian militaries by pro-Russian partisans, right? And this information also is reported by Sergei Lebedev, coordinator of the pro-Russian underground in the Nikolaev region. No precise information what kind of military equipment was destroyed, and there are about number of military personnel that Kyiv regime lost during this strike that happened this night, by the way, previous night. But a strike was precise. So significant number of newly delivered weapon systems from the West will never reach a battlefield, I guess. Also important news from RT that the US is about to allow Ukraine to attack Russia with long-range missiles. So Washington intends to lift restrictions on Kyiv's use of US-provided ATACMS missiles to strike deep inside the Russian territory. And this was reported initially on Axios by Axios reporter. Their limitations were originally put in place to allow the US and its allies to claim they were not directly involved in the conflict with Russia, while arming Ukraine to the tune of 200 billion US dollars or more. Kyiv has been clamoring for the restrictions to be lifted since the May. US Secretary of the State Antony Blinken intends to announce their policy change about these strikes deep inside the Russian territory. While visiting Kyiv with his UK counterpart David Lammy this week, Axios journalist Julie Grace Brufke claimed on Tuesday, citing Congressman Michael McCall. So unfortunately, this week probably we will observe next level of escalation from the NATO, from the Washington against Russia, and probably this correspondent is correct. And during the visit in Kyiv, Blinken, together with his British counterpart, will make an announcement that all sanctions on use of Western weapon systems against Russia have been lifted, including on strikes on deep inside the Russian territory. London and Paris, by the way, British and French authorities already made such statements that they have no issue if British Storm Shadow missiles or French Scalp-EG cruise missiles will be used to strike deep inside the Russian territory. And US is seems like US authorities are about to make a similar announcement. You may ask how Russia will respond on that, and well, it is difficult to say, isn't it? There was many warnings from Russian side just a couple of days ago. Foreign Minister of Russian Federation Sergei Lavrov also commented on this topic that was discussed in the media about US delivering long-range weapon systems, cruise missiles, GASSM or something, to Kyiv regime that has range of 400 kilometers, and also on topic of long-range strikes deep inside Russian territory. And Lavrov said that Washington knows Russian red lines and where those red lines are. So this was also warning, and many other warnings were issued before. But I mean, I don't know how Moscow is gonna respond if those missiles will start targeting Russian citizens in 300-500 kilometer range or distance from their line of contact from Kyiv controlled territory. And if you take a look at the map, by the way, we are talking about hundreds of big and small settlements that may end up in range of those missiles. From Rostov and Krasnodar to Volgograd, Voronezh possibly, and then Tula, many other cities, by the way. Nothing to be said about Belgorod and Kursk or Bryansk. So definitely significant escalation is about to happen, unfortunately, and yeah, we will see how Moscow will respond. I mean, at this point, no matter what our take is, our opinion is going to be pure speculation, because we just simply don't know. Some experts, what I see on Russia segment of internet, some experts are saying that Moscow may just ignore the fact that long-range missiles being used to strike deep inside the Russian territory and carry on special military operation without any strong statements or retaliatory strikes with some extreme force. Other experts are saying that if long-range strikes will take place, then Moscow may have no choice but to also retaliate. I don't know. I just simply don't know what Moscow's response is going to be. I said many times before, by the way, that due to constant escalation by the Western ruling class against Russia, Moscow or Russian leadership may find itself at some point in a situation when they might see no way out but to use some extreme force, because Western ruling class only understands the language of force. Question is, are we in that situation already or not yet? Time will tell. Let's continue. And Interfax is reporting that during the debate between presidential nominees, hopefuls in US, Trump and Harris, that took place yesterday on ABC TV channel, I believe. Of course, many topics were discussed and commented by Trump and Harris. Internal policies, foreign elements of foreign policies, geopolitics and stuff. And Trump once again reiterated himself that if he is re-elected, he will end the Ukrainian conflict before his inauguration. Well, as far as I know, if I remember correctly, by the way, elections are on 20th of November, right? And inauguration should take place on 5th of January. So how Trump gonna end this conflict in just 1.5 months, approximately, I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical of that, especially because even if Trump and his team really wants to de-escalate, really wants to end this conflict and de-escalate with Russia, I'm not quite sure they will be able to do so because of the influence of the military-industrial complex in US on politicians and Washington's policies. Nothing to be said about deep state, the so-called deep state intelligence community and so on. So therefore, even if Trump is serious about ending hostilities, he may just not be able to achieve much because of this opposition from the deep state. Let's see. But when it comes to these debates itself, Russian media, all the media outlets, by the way, here in Russia, pay significant attention to these debates. You can see some episodes or some fragments of the statements of the candidates from that debate being published in Russian media. I don't watch TV, but I'm quite sure significant portions of those debates were televised in Russian TV. Also, although me personally, I did not pay attention, really. I did not watch. I'm not interested. And especially because what I just said, by the way, it seems like true decision makers in US are behind the scenes, and they always were behind the scenes. Last 3-4 years of the Biden administration is clear demonstration of that. So therefore, if decision makers in US, true decision makers, are in shadows, whatever groups they are, I mean, deep state, we can call it deep state, military industrial complex, multinational corporations, intelligence community, whatever. If decision makers, true decision makers, are non-elected shadow forces, then what difference does it make who is the president in that case, right? I don't know, and that's why I'm skeptical that Trump will be able to act on his electoral promises, because he will most likely face significant opposition from within. Anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting that almost 250,000 Ukrainians in Germany lose protected status, according to Eurostat. That's quite a big number, isn't it? Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian refugees have lost their temporary protection status in Germany in the course of just 1 month, according to new analysis published by the EU Statistics Bureau, Eurostat, on Tuesday. The status introduced by the European Council grants immigrants from the Ukraine the right to an extended visa-free stay in their country, as well as free accommodations, medical care, and their education. At the end of July, some 1,110,600 Ukrainians in Germany reportedly had temporary protection, their highest number in the EU, and roughly the quarter of all migrants in the bloc. However, this number represented a drop of some 236,925 people compared to the previous months. According to Eurostat, many people had their temporary protection status invalidated either because they had been recategorized or left Germany altogether. However, the situation however, the sudden drop also came amid growing criticism of the German government over its preferential treatment of the Ukrainian refugees who have been receiving special benefits not granted to asylum seekers from other countries. One of their main issues has been that Ukrainian migrants in Germany have been entitled to a citizen's benefit of 563 euro or $610 per month, a level of support markedly higher than their other EU states and usually reserved for low-income German citizens or other EU nationals living in the country. So, refugees from other countries, by the way, not really granted this many preferences in Germany. So there's so much to unpack here, isn't it? First of all, you can clearly see Nazi and racist face of the European elites in this news, in their policies, by the way, in their policies that are implemented, because why should a Syrian refugee, for example, didn't have benefits that Ukrainian refugees have? I mean, humans are humans, right? What difference does it make from which area of this planet these people being forced to flee finally to reach their Germany or any other EU member state? And these benefits, by the way, are similarly done in other EU member states also, when Ukrainian refugees are treated differently, preferably compared to refugees from other countries, from Middle East, from Asia, or from African nations, for example. So why is that? Why segregation is allowed in collective West? This is not normal. This is not okay, isn't it? All refugees should be helped, if we are talking about the true refugees, by the way, right? All refugees should have equal support, but this is definitely not the case in Europe. That's the first point, which clearly demonstrates this racist and Nazi face of their elites, Western elites, right? And secondly, by the way, I mean, 250,000 Ukrainians just in Germany lose their protected status and a significant number of benefits. That's big, by the way, but big number. And I think this information is definitely connected with their attempts of the Western ruling class and their puppets in the governments of their, in this particular case, EU member states, to make life more and more difficult for Ukrainian refugees as it changes of their policies. So from preferable status, probably Ukrainians will now see different attitude. And this is done to force basically Ukrainian refugees, especially military age male Ukrainian refugees, to go back to Ukraine and then to be forcefully mobilized and sacrificed for geopolitical agenda of the West. That's what is happening. I predicted, by the way, that EU member states, one after another, due to this immense manpower issues that Kyiv regime is facing, EU member states, one after another, will start introducing new policies to force Ukrainians basically to go back to Ukraine. We will even see deportations, by the way, whatever they're going to call it. They're not going to call it deportation. They will come up with some other words that would not be that provocative, but eventually that's what they're going to do, by the way. They will try to force as many Ukrainians as possible with different policies to go back to Ukraine and then get sacrificed for geopolitical agenda of the West. But if it did not work as well as Western ruling class is intending, then they will just start mass deportations. Just, I mean, mark my words, by the way. That's the direction that EU is heading, for sure. Anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting that US is about to sanction Iran over the alleged missile shipments to Russia. So US will impose fresh sanctions on Iran in response to Tehran's alleged supply of missiles to Moscow. Secretary of the State Antony Blinken announced on Tuesday Iran has dismissed their allegations as psychological warfare. Speaking to the reporters on Tuesday, Blinken claimed that Iran has sent an unknown number of Fateh 360 short-range ballistic missiles to Russia. Then, quote, "We were warned Tehran publicly, we were warned Tehran privately that taking this step would be dangerous escalation." He said Russia has now received the shipments of these missiles and will likely use them within weeks in Ukraine. New sanctions will be announced later on Tuesday, Blinken said. Among their entities targeted will be the Islamic Republic National Airline, Iran Air, he noted. Okay. Iran Air, isn't it? National airliner. What that company has to do with Iran's Iran's missile program? Nothing, isn't it? And if missiles were transferred to Russia, I'm quite sure those missiles were transferred through Caspian Sea, not by air, but by sea. And if some missiles were transferred by air, then probably it was Russian transport planes, right? But yet again, by the way, who cares about US sanctions anymore on this planet? Who cares? Everybody is laughing at Washington, by the way. They are threatening, I mean, with sanctions, we will sanction you, we will do this. Do it, for God's sake. Who cares? Who cares? Really? You know, when it comes to topic itself, by the way, when it comes to topic itself of missiles, I would not be surprised if Russian and Iranian militaries are cooperating and they are planning to test some of the Iranian missiles, because reports are that several types of Iranian missiles have been transferred to Russia. So maybe militaries of two countries are cooperating to test those missiles, how they are operating in a real warfare situation, how they're managing to deal with the radio-electronic warfare of the Western production, how they are dealing with their air defense systems of the Western states. Let's see. I would not be surprised if that's the case, but I find it difficult to believe that Iran transferred to Russia hundreds and hundreds of missiles, ballistic missiles. I mean, if so, it's a good news, by the way. I am all for further increasing cooperation between Russia and Iran, but I still find it difficult to believe that Iran transferred to Russia some hundreds of missiles of any type, really. I don't know. Let's see if any additional information will be given, by the way. And also, I would not be surprised at all if it will turn out that all this topic of Iranian missiles in Russia is a hoax generated by Western secret services and Western propaganda outlets. Anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting that Russia holding biggest strategic naval drills in decades. So Russia has launched their biggest naval drills in its modern history. President Vladimir Putin has announced the Ocean 2024 exercises kicked off on Tuesday and is expected to be held simultaneously in the Pacific and the Arctic Oceans, as well as the Mediterranean, Caspian, and the Baltic Seas. The aim of the drill is to assess the combat readiness of the Russian Navy and the Air Force, as well as to check their interoperability. Putin said as he joined the opening of their exercises via video link. The maneuvers involved more than 400 battleships and submarines, as well as auxiliary vessels, some 120 aircraft, and over 90,000 military personnel. Their exercises is set to include complex operations involving simulated launches of high-precision weapons, Putin said at the meeting that was attended by Defense Minister Andrei Belousov. The drills would employ their experience the Russian troops have gained during the ongoing conflict between Moscow and Kiev. The president said the Chinese military are also taking part in the Russian drills. 4 vessels and 15 aircraft of the People's Liberation Army have joined the exercises. The head of the Russian Navy, Admiral Alexander Moiseev, stated so. Yes, Chinese are also participating. Chinese militaries are also participating in these drills, which clearly indicates or demonstrates once again high level of cooperation between the two countries, not just in political and economical terms, but also in terms of military, which is definitely important stuff, by the way, especially now when collective West collective West is escalating with Russia almost on daily basis, and there are 6 further escalation by lifting restrictions on strikes deep inside the Russian territory with the Western long-range weapon systems. So interesting news. I will say these naval drills can be seen or should be seen by Western ruling class as a kind of warning. Also, as a warning was a recent multiple stage military exercises of the Russian troops on deployment of non-strategical nuclear weapons. Although unfortunately, as I said many times, and I guess vast majority of our community will agree, that Western ruling elites, Western ruling class is just not in a place to be able to receive adequately any warnings from anybody. They were acting with their impunity for so long that, truly only language they understand is force nowadays, nothing else. And before I continue, dear friends, let me notice that this channel, several channels of mine, by the way, on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, this small media project is completely subscriber funded, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal or Boosting platforms, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. Subscription on my Patreon monthly subscription starts from $5, and monthly subscription on my Boosty page starts from about $6, by the way. And I have quite a lot of bonus videos, by the way, on my Patreon and Boosty pages, and those bonus videos gonna become even, I'm gonna do even more content, by the way, there. Definitely I have some plans on that, and I really hope we will manage to reach 200. Our community will manage to reach 200 on Patreon before end of this week, and at least 50 on Boosty before end of this week. I hope so. If you think I deserve to be in this field of news and political commentary, if you think my channels deserve to exist in this field, yes, please consider to support if you can, obviously. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And dear friends, as you know, my channel on YouTube is not monetized, but it is monetized on Rumble. And if it's convenient to you, if you can, please watch or listen to my updates on Rumble channel. Right now, our community on Rumble is about 3,800. Hopefully our community will increase on Rumble also, and who knows, maybe sometime in the future Rumble platform can be play significant role as a platform that financially supports my project. I hope so. Yet again, all the links on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. We have a RIA Novosti's report about statements of President of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić, who said that authorities in Kosovo are planning to force Serbian minority in the region out. And I'm afraid Aleksandar Vučić is correct. Probably due to constant escalatory steps by these local Albanian authorities in the Kosovo region of the Serbia. Obviously, these constant escalatory steps from Pristina, by the way, is definitely indicates that they are intended to provoke confrontation and then to force Serbians out of the region, on which of course Serbia will have no option but to react and get involved. And maybe that's exactly what NATO wants, to provoke conflict and then to influence and then to use its force to influence Serbia and maybe conduct regime change or put in power people in Serbia that will agree to recognize independence of Kosovo and will agree on any directive that they will receive from Washington and London. Maybe that's their plan that Western ruling class has. Also interesting news, by the way, that North Korea vows nuclear arsenal expansion. And North Korea is planning to boost its stockpile of nuclear weapons to excuse me, to counter threats posed by the US and its allies. The country's leader Kim Jong-un has said, well, important news obviously because it's about nuclear weapons, and I'm quite sure Seoul, capital of South Korea, and also Tokyo, capital of Japan, are closely monitoring developments in North Korea, especially when it comes to nuclear program of the North Korea, because if confrontation erupts on peninsula, well, most likely North Korean nuclear weapons will go to use, and they will target hostile forces on peninsula itself, on Korean peninsula itself, and also in Japan most likely. And according to some reports, by the way, North Korea has missiles now that can even reach Guam, crucial military base and logistical hub of their Washington in Pacifics, right? So, well, very important developments. Obviously, RT is reporting that India and United Arab Emirates ink deal for LNG and oil explorations. So India on Monday signed 5 agreements with their energy-rich United Arab Emirates during a visit of Crown Prince Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan to New Delhi. According to an Indian Foreign Ministry statement, their pacts include one for a long-term liquefied petroleum gas (LPG) transfer between the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company (ANDOC) and the Indian Oil Corporation Limited (IOCL). their 15-year agreement will see their supply of 1 million metric tons per year from their ANDOC's Ruwais gas hub. Notably, this is the third contract of its kind that India has signed with the United Arab Emirates in 2023. India has signed in 2023. The two countries agreed on 14-year deal estimated at 7.7 to 9 billion US dollars for the supply of 1.2 million metric tons of liquefied petroleum gas. In January 2024, the Gas Authority of India signed a separate deal for a 10-year term beginning in 2026 for supplies of LNG from United Arab Emirates. So India is diversifying its economy, by the way, diversifying its supply lines of their energy, which is good for India, obviously, and it is good for United Arab Emirates in this particular case. But what is also very important, in my opinion, is increase in presence of India in the Middle East. This is definitely a good step for peace in the region, because more India, China, Russia, other countries are present in the Middle East, more chances are that Western ruling class will not succeed in provoking a regional war that they clearly want to provoke in attempt to disrupt navigation in the Persian Gulf and cut China, first of all, from Middle Eastern energy sources. And also entire global south, by the way. Let's continue with some additional news. And the Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that according to Turkish media, President of Turkey Recep Tayyip Erdogan will visit Russia to participate in Kazan BRICS summit on 23rd, 24th of October, which is very interesting, by the way. Very interesting. Turkey officially applied to join the BRICS just a couple of days ago, and I reported about it in previous updates. And we have now Turkish media's report that decision being made by Ankara that Erdogan will go to Kazan, capital of Russia's Tatarstan Autonomous Republic, to participate in the BRICS summit. And this is big, by the way. This is big because Turkey is a NATO member state, and Turkey was actively used by the collective West, including against China, by the way. And I remind you, by the way, that in Idlib province of Syria, which is occupied by terrorists, including by pro-Turkish terrorists, or let's say controlled terrorist organizations that are controlled by Turkish security services or secret services, in Idlib province, thousands of Uyghurs are undergoing training on terrorist camps, right? Uyghurs of Chinese citizenship from Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous region in China, on the northern western part of China. And my understanding is that these Uyghurs being trained, indoctrinated in radicalism, and then trained in Idlib province to at some point being deployed on the borderline with China in Central Asian republics, and then to send into China to destabilize these northern regions of the country. And for that purposes, by the way, Western ruling class were using actively Turkey, because majority of Central Asian republics, basically with the exception of Tajikistan, are Turkic speaking, and Turkey has a quite significant influence there. And there was several attempts, by the way, and still some attempts are in the works to destabilize Central Asian republics, especially ones that are bordering China, so that this no man's lands or terrorist controlled lands will be created as a Plattsdarm for their terrorist organizations to then launch attacks and to infiltrate basically China. So, I mean, Turkey is a very difficult country, by the way, very complex country, and many members of the BRICS will find it difficult to cooperate with Turkey for exactly the reasons that I mentioned, that Turkey was actively used by NATO, by Western ruling class, against Middle Eastern countries, against China, even against Russia, by the way, at some points. And until Turkey is a member of the collective West, I don't think it should be accepted in the BRICS. Although, of course, BRICS can stimulate Turkish political class to reconsider stance of Turkey in a modern world, because it is so obvious that being a client state for the West did not really help Turkey much, right? And did not really help Turkish economy that much. And if you don't know, by the way, Turkish economy is in very difficult situation, very difficult situation. And the only hope they have, really, in practical terms, is cooperation with the BRICS and the emerging multipolar world. It is what it is, and that's why Ankara is so keen to join BRICS. But by the way, BRICS should have its own standards, right? You cannot accept just about anybody. It's not okay. It's not okay. You cannot accept member of their hostile military alliance, right? Because Turkey may play Trojan horse role in BRICS in that case. So very careful approach is needed, obviously, when their new members are accepted in the BRICS, especially with the members that are very active in several regions of this world and are basically active members of their hostile, aggressive military alliance, military bloc, like NATO. But it is interesting that Erdogan will visit Kazan. Okay, RIA Novosti is reporting that supplies of oil, by the way, to Europe directly from Russia failed 9 times since the escalation in Ukraine in last 2 years, by the way. 9 times, which is wow, quite significant, isn't it? But not surprising, absolutely not surprising. Although, by the way, directly Russian oil supplies may be cut 9 times, but we all know that Europe still buys Russian oil in same volume as previously. Just Europe is just paying more for that Russian oil because they are buying it from third parties, from Indian companies, by the way, first of all, for example, and from companies from other countries also, because this business is very beneficial, by the way, to buy oil from Russia, then and then sell it to Europe and take your percent, whatever it's gonna be. I mean, like 5, 10, 20. So many companies are making big buck from almost nothing, man. They are just buying from Russia and selling almost on the spot, by the way, selling that oil to European companies. And this is all due to this crazy anti-Russian hysteria in the West and the sanctions wars, and eventually, of course, these high prices comes down to, high prices are generating additional inflation in the West. But tell this to Western ruling class, do they care about it? Hardly. And I will end this update on this news, by the way, that Russia's birth rate unfortunately hits historical low. Russian Russia recorded their historic minimum birth rate in the first 6 months of this year, with the number of babies born having declined by 16,600 in annual terms, according to data published on Monday by the state statistics agency Rosstat. Such a low last time was recorded in the wake of 1998 financial crisis in the country. According to report, only 599,600 children were born in Russia in the period from January to July of this year, down from their 616,200 during the same period of 2023. So significant drop, unfortunately. And well, this issue is bigger in Russia, by the way. Birth rate. State does many programs, by the way. State finances many programs to support birth rate, to support young families, to support creation of the families, and to support families with more babies. But seems like it's still not enough for some, and Russia needs more people, right? Russia needs more people, and that's why I'm saying, by the way, right now, by many citizens of the Western states, by the way, by many citizens of the Western states, Russia have been seen as the last stronghold of the traditional values, right? Family values, universal human values, and therefore there is a opportunity for Russia to make it easier for citizens of the Western states, citizens of US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, UK, France, Italy, you name it, by the way. It is an opportunity now for Russia to make immigration into Russia from the Western states easier, right? Because Russia needs people. Citizens of the Western states, they come with these are, by the way, hard-working, law-obeying people, right? They will come here with their families. They will come here with their experience, with their knowledge, with their expertise. It will benefit them. It will benefit society here in Russia. It will benefit country. And millions of citizens of the Western states may come to Russia, by the way, and they will integrate easily, by the way, relatively easily, because there are many similarities in cultural terms, right? It's not going to be some cultural shock for them when they come to Russia, right? So they will integrate quite easily, by the way, and give it like 5-10 years, and they will be Russians with their mentality. Even first generations, by the way. Nothing to be said about second generations and so on. They will be just ordinary Russians, right? So there is opportunity there, by the way, and I truly don't understand why Moscow is not, at least for now, not using this opportunity. I don't know, man. I don't get it. But anyways, I will end this update on this news, by the way. I mean, despite all the attempts by state, by the way, and you should know how many programs are financed by states in significant terms, by the way, to boost birth rates in Russia. But unfortunately, it seems like it don't works as well as Russian leadership would hope, and as all the Russians would hope, by the way, obviously. I guess more to be done, and will be done, obviously, because this topic is always on the top priorities of the government, as far as I remember, by the way. Definitely for Russian president and his government, that's for sure. And this is it for now, dear friends. I will end this update on this news. It's still long update, man. I don't know. I skip battle map, right? To make update shorter, and it's still 49-50 minutes, man. Okay. Hopefully you will find this update interesting and informative, dear friends, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. Any topic will do. This is the only way we can try at least and influence algorithm and reach wider audience. And for very same reason, if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in real life or on internet, on any of the platforms that you're actively using. And yes, finally, if you like my work, if you like my channels, please consider to support. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.